An era of error. Oral presentation. Summary. The reader is introduced of how the apartheid system came to existence, where the British and the Dutch colonized South Africa and later on invented racial segregation. Kay, an Indian girl who is the protagonist of the novel, goes through numerous conflicts in her life, as well as individuals' lives that are not white due to the apartheid system. She witnesses events of her grandmother's maid being taken away because she was in the wrong residential area and did not have a passbook. Although Kay and her friends enjoyed time on the beach to take her mind off all the distress in life. Racial segregation is applied with the people going on the beach because the beach was divided up for certain races. Hence, the university she attended to was an all-Indian university that was against the government. Though a gory event occurs when the riot squad abuses students to show their superiorness. Through these hardships, she meets a white male that fights against the apartheid system, and they easily fall in love with each other, where they do not care about the immorality act, even though it will affect their life later on in the future. What the Immorality Act does, it prohibits two races from having a relationship or any sort of sexual interactions. Inspiration. My inspiration came from a grade 8 assignment. In the past, I did an assignment on the history of Nelson Mandela in my grade 8 English class, where he acted out certain events of his life, such as his life in Robben Island and his life in his younger days. After the presentation, I asked myself, what did Nelson Mandela fight for in South Africa? I had this question running in my mind until July 2017, when I heard the novel An Era of Error. I found out from my peers that the novel educates the reader on the apartheid system in South Africa, the everyday life as a citizen where they experience racism. From reading this novel, it taught me the struggles of how the apartheid system impacted races of color, where they needed passbooks to travel from one town to another, and if they were caught, they would be taken away by the South African police. An example would be in the novel because Kay's grandmother's maid was black, but she is not allowed to stay in the Indian community because it was against the law. Thus, this is where racial segregation takes place. African American. When society hears the phrase African American, the first race they think of are the black people. Are black people. Though reading this novel, I learned that there are multiple races in South Africa, such as Indian, white, colored, and black. It's important to learn that whenever we use African American, we must realize that the black people are not the only race in Africa. Theme. The theme of racism is portrayed throughout the novel, where the maid gets taken away by the South African police, the blood and gore of the students being abused by the riot squad to show dominance and because they hated the races that are not white. Also, when our friends were enjoying quality time in the beach and the white supremacist points a gun towards the teens. As Kay and Pete were bonding at the beach, and the AWB game threatens them that they will kill them because a white boy is with an Indian girl. So all four of these examples show racism in the novel. Racial segregation also takes place in the novel. How the beaches are divided up for certain races. The washrooms was divided up depending on the race where the whites were considered only one race, while the Indians, colored, and black were all considered one race as well. Certain races were also not allowed to go in certain communities because each community is divided up upon a race. Atmosphere. One atmosphere in the novel was fear, and when the maid was in the pantry with her baby and the police barges into the kitchen, this portrays fear because the mother did not know if the police were going to take away her baby and herself. And also, Kay experienced fear when she was in the stall and the tear gas was released in the washroom. Also, the riot squad beating the students with her baton and sjambok increased her anxiety. Hiding in the lecture auditorium made her very frightened because she did not know when or where the riot squad will enter the auditorium. The AWB gang confronting the illegal acts made the mood full of anxiety because of how the gang presented themselves and the conversations they had with Pete. Courage is also another atmosphere that was showcased in the atmosphere. Ali had courage to put her foot in the water of the beach where she was not supposed to be on, and Kay staying up till very late at night when she was out on camping because she would have faced consequences if she was found by a nun. Thus, the AWB gang are always storming late at night. Joy is also another atmosphere, where Kay was always found in an excellent mood after a negative experience, such as her encounter with the man holding a gun, and when they were laughing at each other when running down the hill. Thus other contrasting races joined in with laughter. Symbols. The springbok. After doing some research, I discovered that the springbok represented the simplicity of joy. The animal is symbolic of Kay because she always finds a silver lining of her hardships in life. As I have stated before, she was full of laughter after a man had a rifle pointing towards them, and when they had a heated discussion with the AWB game, she still found happiness at the end of the situation with Pete. Or even minor events such as fighting with her friends at the room that did not let to a situation which she did not let that situation get to her. And also a scream, which is a motif in the novel, because whenever Kate hears a scream, her anxiety level starts to extend. Students being tortured and abused by the Riot Squad weapons makes the situation even worse for her, because all she can hear is the impact of the weapon on the person being of the body echoing around her. And as she goes up the stairs, all she can hear is the student crying because of the tear gas. Connecting with the KKK. The KKK is a white supremacist group that wants all of the world just to be run by by a white race, which is similar to the novel An Era of Error, because white dominance and white supremacists overruled South Africa, and caused a lot and where they tortured other races, abused those races that are not white, and caused corruption in South Africa as a whole. And which I would like to end this presentation off with a quote from Barack Obama where he states that no one is born hating another race because of the color of the skin or his background or his region. And this quotation is quoted by Nelson Mandela himself.